Hello, Rama Rama Pupodu. Hope all are in good health, feeling great, relaxed, having a peaceful life. Now let's continue with chapter 24. Cawnpore in the steamboat. God cannot be proved by arguments. Ramdas spent about 5 days with the sadhu in Banda. He was supremely delighted to see Ramdas again. He used to make Ramdas sit on his raised asan and squatting in front of him read out passages from Yoga Vasishta and compare with Ramdas state the description given therein of a liberated soul. He would exclaim with great glee, "Your life is molded exactly after that of a Jivan Mukta, as delineated in this work." He took Ramdas to the city and presented him to his disciples. Jagannath of Mahoba came on a visit to see Ramdas again. On the third day, Ramdas had another attack of fever, which lasted for one night. One evening, a man came running to the kuti and told the sadhu that there was a likelihood of bloodshed that night in Banda. Two processions, one of Muslims and the other of Hindus, headed by Swami Satyadev, were to pass the same road from opposite directions. Preparations had been made on both sides for a fight. They had armed themselves with lathis. The tender heart of the sadhu was touched by the alarming news. He drew a long breath and sighed. "Maharaj," then Ramdas spoke, "there will be no fight and no bloodshed." He looked at Ramdas and smiled and said, "Amen." He became cheerful again. At 11 o'clock, a messenger came from the town, bringing the tidings that all went well with the processions. There was no brawl between the parties. They passed on the same road, side by side, without any friction. "God be praised," uttered the compassionate old sadhu. Taking leave of the sadhu, Ramdas with Ramcharan Das started from Banda and arrived at Cawnpore, where they were received by Ramchandra Gupta at the station. Gupta had arranged for their stay in a Shiva mandir on the banks of the Ganges. Here, fever again made its appearance. Gupta was a student of the local college of commerce. Hundreds of students of the college came to see Ramdas. Fever did not prevent him from having free talks with them. They would put him all kinds of questions and he was ready with replies. One night, a number of students, headed by a leader, came to interview Ramdas. They belonged to a sect called Charvak, allied to materialism. Their leader discussed till 1 o'clock, contending that the body was all and that life was intended only for material enjoyment. Everything was merely nature and its work. There was no such thing as soul, spirit, or God as controller of the worlds. Ramdas told him at last, "Friend, Ramdas cannot prove to you by mere arguments the existence of God. Nobody can. Ramdas, from his own experience, can boldly assert that there is God. Until you yourself get the experience, it is natural that you should deny Him. But time will come when you too would have faith in Him." Ramdas' stay in Cawnpore was only for 4 days. From Lalitpur, Triveni Prasad explained by letter that his second call was due to the local munsif, who had missed him, owing to his ignorance of Ramdas' arrival at Lalitpur during the first visit, and who was now anxious to see him. Ramdas proceeded therefore with Ramcharan Das again to Lalitpur. The fever continued. This time they were put up at Munsif house. He and his wife were extremely kind. They tended to him as though he were their child. Here Ramdas met Ram Kinkar of Jhansi. After a couple of days, they left Lalitpur direct for Bombay. In the train, they met a Sikh, who was also going to Bombay. All through the journey, he looked after Ramdas with great tenderness, attending to all his needs. As they neared Bombay, the compartment in which they sat was vacant, except for the three. Ramdas was sitting in a corner and Ramcharan Das leaned out of a window. Everybody was silent in the compartment. Suddenly, Ramcharan Das came bounding to Ramdas and said with surprised looks, "Swamiji, someone has been uttering in my ears Ram Nam. I distinctly heard it. Who did it?" "Ram." Ramdas never moved from his seat. So also the Sikh. "It must be Ram. And who is there other than he?" Ramdas replied, At the Victoria terminus, they met Sanjeev Rao, who was awaiting their arrival. They drove in a Victoria to Sanjeev Rao's quarter at Gamdevi. That's all, folks. Let's see in the next chapter. Thank you. Bye bye. Rama Rama Puppodu.